Nice to see you too. It's been absolutely forever.
For about 2 years. Do you
I'd
want to lead the way?
I don't know whether to take this here house coat off and actually, look like a normal human being or what.
Whatever. There's a decision you have to make.
Oh goodness, what's the right one? Need help?
I thought this would be so good because the amount of books I have on this kind of stuff is so mad that me and you could only even fractionally talk about.
No, we just roll with it and see. But
I have a little bit of a basis of a few questions I think we could talk about between ourselves and see what our thought processes are on that.
okay, yeah.
And the first one is the big one, which is what is a wrong decision?
Yes. Let's start with that.
I think that's a big, because we're watching maybe TV instead of doing work. That's a wrong decision.
Yeah.
And then
why are we doing that? And why can we not stop doing it and do what we know we need to do or should be doing?
And then we have the more unconscious ones, which is the things that shopping habits, being influenced by marketing, which I work in myself. Of course, buy one, get one free, but it's not always a great deal and all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of unconscious biases that sort of either help us because of our lazy brain, to try and make decisions quicker than too much thinking. And then sometimes we're just totally tricked by that. And I have a wee list of some of those that are amazing for people to be aware of, which I think we'll go through.
Yes, that's a great idea. So are these tricks that you need to be aware of to stop making the wrong decision?
Yes, these could
help you if you use them.
Cognitive biases that we all suffer from. Show a book now, which is the Daniel Kahneman, the Thinking Fast and Slow.
Yes. I love the fact that you're surrounded by books. It's literally making my life here, because I've just reviewed my psychology books and everything. I'm great. This will really help people.
Of course, the wrong decision is something that we look back on and realize that it was wrong, rather than something that is you don't have the foresight to realize that it's wrong. You sent me some stuff about gut and your gut and your thinking, but wrong's obviously probably perspective in some cases, and then wrong is just maybe a little bit of luck or bad luck, really, and there's that kind of other part of life that can't really make any rhyme or reason of, and we have all had a bit of luck in something and we've all had a bit of unluck in something. Decisions could have been relevant or not relevant. So
earthquakes happen, for example, and no one asked for that. There are things.
Look at the pandemic.
Well, I certainly didn't ask for it, did you?
No, and it's threw a lot of people off. Some people have got through it okay. Somebody like myself, we've got through it okay because of saving. I was a saver anyway, so I've naturally saved money, so I didn't really get through into a whole mix of, oh my goodness.
The savers here.
Up the savers, yeah. But it's a conscious decision that was made a long time ago that has now went, oh my goodness, this is paid off.
A good decision, I would say, but maybe others would say, oh, you should spend every penny you have. So that's definitely, and a perspective thing for sure.
Part of this, our thinking here was also based on, I had also noted down our upbringing and how we make, if your parents are kind of maybe more risk takers and stuff, you're naturally maybe going to be more risk taking and stuff. Those things that are really in us early that we are going through now.
That's nothing we can now actually do anything about. We've been brought up in the way we can't actually reverse time. So there are things that we might need to rewire in ourselves to
and I think that's a big thing. And I think the cognitive biases there are some of those that have been influenced by our upbringing in your society also has an influence on how you think about things, and then also perceive the world, which then links you to how you actually decide to do things.
Yeah, so there is actually a lot that comes into, making decisions, and you're just trying to go about and do them as best you can, rather than actually sitting thinking about how you think, and because we just don't give ourselves the time.
This is where maybe in 20 minutes or so, we could maybe give people a little bit of what decision making is, and be aware that we're always going to make silly decisions. That is just...
We all have a child in us and an ego.
Yes, of course. The main thing that I think to start is evolutionary psychology, which is obviously the lazy brain that we're both aware of. The reptile brain. We're still living in a modern world with a reptile brain running the show.
Just waiting on seeing my dinosaur tail growing here. And the only thing, be aware of these biases that you're talking about, be aware of them, so that then we can work on training our brains so that, we are making better decisions.
The reptile brain obviously sits in the background. It has part of our fear, fight or flight sort of syndrome, we're stressed out in a world. Yes, we're a very busy world that's thrown a lot of information and stress onto us, and a reptile brain is really only looking for the lion to come, and there throws our anxiety and things out. So realizing that our brains aren't really wired yet for the world that we're in. The world's moving faster than our brains can comprehend. By the amount of food that we eat, I think 30 to 40% is used by the brain on a daily basis. It's so much energy our brains use.
And people don't realize that as well. They think if they're like just lying doing nothing, that they don't, need to eat as much. Nah, like you can literally do nothing, and I mean nothing. And you need that energy to fuel that.
I was working yesterday on a job, and I had a lot of decisions to make. So you get decision fatigue, which is when you have to make a lot of decisions on a creative world. You have to make a lot of creative decisions. So you may be sitting at a desk, but you actually are mentally exhausted. And then that already skews your decision making. We all know the hangry persons, the people who are hungry and angry.
Oh dear, anger is not the one, and you need to be avoid that at all costs.
So we have to be aware straight away that our brain is lazy, and it always is trying to make the easy decisions to get out of trouble. The silly decisions can be just done because the brain is going, like, I'll just use which we call a heuristic.
Yeah, a shortcut, really.
Shortcut to make an answer, and where we don't actually go, wait a minute, is this?
Yes, and oftentimes it takes, because we're always trying to do things in the quickest way possible. In such a busy society, we want to do things quickly. So using shortcuts is, our brain's way of using less energy to get the things done that we need to do. But we need to really, actually take that extra time, because to avoid looking back in years to come being like, why did I do that?
And I do. And look, we're habit forming people, so
you're constantly all day, every day, making stupid choices.
Yeah, I have bad habits. I do. I get up in the morning, I do my to-do list, and then I don't look at it the rest of the day. And then at the end of the day, I'm going, God, is that my to-do list?
Oh goodness, why didn't I do all those things? I sat making the to-do list, and then I just forgot about it and didn't bother. Sure, but we're sitting here talking about decision making and making good decisions, not as if we're perfect humans making all the right decisions. We need to hear this ourselves and start implementing it.
Well, my first book on decision making was actually called The Decisive Moment. A few years back, I was doing, like what you're saying, consciously thinking about why am I doing stupid things? So I know these stupid things. Procrastination. I'm a fast talker, and sometimes I don't let other people talk, which is why I have to consciously go, Amy, what's your thought process? I have to consciously think
no, Brendan, I'm not joking. I'm the same.
I've had to wire that into my head to have a break, but then my energy kicks in, and that's subconscious.
No, I'm with you on that. So the two of us are here sitting fighting each other and fighting our brains as well.
Fighting our brains. So yeah, that's the cool thing, that if everybody accepted that we're not perfect in our decision making, and more importantly, if you have a good few people around you tell you the truth that you need to hear, so
you often can't see because you're shaded or you too much anxiety over trying.
Should I buy this house? Should I save this money? Should I do this? And then you're putting a lot of ideas in your head, and then you might just have someone that goes and sort of sees the outside picture and goes, yes, you should, or no, you shouldn't. But then you need to obviously put that in your head to go, are they telling the truth? Am I, should I trust myself? And
it's actually a whole procedure, like, to making it. It's actually like a big ceremony if you think about it.
So most people, 99% of people, go through life without even thinking about how they think, which is what I've written down here.
Oh, here, that's a large statistic. The two of us are in the real minority and rarity here.
Yeah, there'd be a real minority of people that actually...
people aren't deeply conscious that they're thinking is affecting their behaviour.
Look at social media, we see that with people who, if something like, I think that the pandemic's great because we've seen a lot of people, again, the 5G things and, the anti-vaxxers, and yet all the statistics are very much for these things helping the world. Believe it or not, that when I was reading a book on contagious viruses throughout history, that actually the anti-vaxxers have always been there through all history. They've always been there.
Yeah,
Yes.
they just maybe haven't got as much publicity, so
of
you're not
course, no,
really.
yes.
I love the fact that you've done that and you've just blessed me with that wisdom, because that's actually really, and that's really relevant to the situation right now. Are you taking the vaccine? Are you not?
Yes,
What's the big decision?
And then you go into a bias, which is basically a confirmation bias, which is you read stuff that confirms what you believe rather than stuff that goes against what you believe.
And you do what everyone else is doing around you because you don't want to stand out as a sore thumb.
Which is called bandwagon bias.
Yeah. Is that actually a thing?
That's a thing, yeah. You jump on
bandwagon bias.
So if you think about it, birds of a feather flock together is a phrase that works really well. It reaffirms your belief rather than actually makes you think.
You're always seeking out information.
The confirmation.
That confirms what you already believe. So you're not as willing to accept something that might go against it. And you'll be sitting like, nah. You'll argue till you're blue in the face, but you don't even know. You're just going by what you've seen or what others have told you.
And that's it. So I had a conversation with a guy just 6 months ago chatting about, the vaccine and where it is now.
Yes.
And he said to me, what do you think of the vaccine? He's on the anti-vaccine, but not totally committed. He's just, he's on that side of the fence. And I had said to him within 2 seconds, I said, I don't have enough information. I haven't read enough data. I don't have the experience for me to have a good conversation with you to tell you what's the right answer. And he said to me,
go away and do all this
because I didn't have the answer for him, but he loved the fact that he says to me, I love the fact that you're telling me you don't have the information.
I know. And people just appreciate that, being honest. Like,
people are afraid of saying I don't know everything. There's a whole fear of going, I don't know everything. Whereas to me,
we should be, just rather than waffling and talk a load of rubbish, like actually just owning up to the fact, here, I don't have all the answers, but I can direct you to somebody who might know, or I'll go and find out for you and then let you know. That's fine. We don't need to have all the answers.
If we get into a real world situation for people, is I run a business, I need an accountant, I need different people who are very specialized in their experience and knowledge, who can help me run my business better. Through the amount of information I'd have to dig through just to get to that, I probably wouldn't even find it. Pay people like that because they have the answers that you need without you having to go and decision making is, if we have people in confirmation bias, like, and we'll call a Karen on a few Karens on my Facebook that are, the vaccine's going to kill us and all that malarkey and microchipping.
By the way, can I just chip in there about Karen? A Karen messaged me the other night and was like, can you please not with Karen? I'm trying to change my children's thinking so they don't think I'm a baddie. And I was like, oh my goodness, I can't call Karen bad anymore. So we need to put it out there. There are kind Karens too, okay?
Of course, there's kind Karens. It's just a term of phrase. Okay, but what you have is these people that have no experience of they're unfortunately maybe not fully on their level education.
They haven't done what you're wanting to do, so they really cannot offer advice, but they still want to anyway.
I'm going to throw it out there to people, and they're going to have a go at people because they don't believe their confirmation, their biases and stuff, and to go out there and actually deal with those people online, it's pointless because they're so grounded down into their belief that
energy drain.
What we need to do is more general knowledge that I actually could be wrong. So I go through life thinking about a lot of things going, this could actually be wrong.
You're changing your thought pattern right now can be entirely different next week, tomorrow, a few hours down the line. We'll be thinking, here, that's not, because we're constantly learning. That's the evolution of knowledge.
I'm telling you, I have about 80 books on my to-do read list, so at least 80, and that will always be 80 because there'll be more added to it. So I can't sit there and tell people I have all the information because I know there's still about 4,000 books to read.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
You have a room just for books and reading, do you?
I've moved to the Kindle and it allows me now to have all my books.
Brilliant. Yes.
But I still have all my good.
You can't beat a good bit of, the smell of that book, but anyway.
But the first thing if people are trying to go through that is just reaffirming is we do have a lazy brain and it's going to do silly stuff and we have to just, go with that. And then the other part of it is we can learn a little bit about how we make decisions that it then allows us to sort of take it into your own hands a little bit more. I have a wee bit to talk about in regards to emotional and rational choice and decision making.
Yes.
We know the male and female brains think a lot differently too, don't we?
Yes. Honestly, like all my female friends like really actually struggle to understand a lot of male thinking. It seems
Ask me
like men
something.
are from Mars. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, ask me something.
Totally different. So
What are you thinking about?
what I'm wanting to just ask you, like, how was your day?
Or as a man,
Yeah. Today, how was your day?
was good. I was busy.
What I would say first and foremost, right? Now this is obviously really like, stereotypical, but it's black and white but women are technicolor.
I
So
have stereotypes here.
yes, like honestly, you would say it was good, I was busy. Whereas me, I would say, oh, well, I went here and I saw such and such. And it's a whole big rigmarole. Whereas men are just very much like to the point. Like that is
Straight to the point.
totally different. Like that's why I said to you, how was your day? Because that's just completely confirmed. Like, well,
It
sure,
was
that's
good.
confirmation bias here. The
What
stereotype
more do you
remains,
what more do
Brendan.
you need? What more do you need? Part of our thinking, even when you go into that decision making, you have to realize that you're thinking of whether your gender actually influences the way you think. The reason being is, again, it goes back to evolution. Our needs and what our purpose was in evolution is totally different. So our thinking is different.
Yep.
Because of those.
But
So
our thinking hasn't caught up. We're still stuck.
I think that goes back to the whole male-female dilemma that's happening in today's world. Men are still older men are starting to obviously move out of businesses and stuff, and and the younger women are coming in and being more driven, and well, probably we're always driven, but now there's the opportunity to show it. But I think both genders need to have a lot more flex with each other. It's not a battle of the genders as you would see in some of the groups that it seems to be, that there's a lot of male bashing, I think, goes on, which is unfortunate. Those are not good decisions, but I think that becomes down into confirmation bias, that maybe say, for if someone is using the phrase that men are bad and all men are arseholes, then what happens is that you just find other people that will believe that.
Only surrounded by people who think the same way as you do, I think that's actually really detrimental personally.
Of course, I've always believed that having when I ran businesses, we always had females in, which allowed us to have the balance of thought process. So I was doing that 10 years ago.
And I'm sure we
business.
would have met up just for a coffee, just for you to bounce ideas off to see what my perspective on something was, just because that's giving you a totally different light to something.
And really great article of you. It was about how important diversity is in businesses,
and
having people from different genders, different cultures, because the culture bring up makes you think differently. Which means when you're in business, you have people that think totally differently.
So then you can come to an amalgamation of all the different cultures to then make an informed decision and make it as effective for everyone as possible.
Fix problems. So data is there that we need as much variation in our life to help us through it. Age has an impact on your thinking and how you make decisions too, because you have, if you're older like myself, you have a bit of experience to work with.
But then you're leading into the risk of Alzheimer's. So
it's all well, thank you very much. And and then
we're not going down that road.
Then the youth have naivety on their side a little. Well, it goes against them and for them. And naivety is good because they can sort of make a bit more gut decisions and it might pay off. But they also have the I know everything when you're going, no, wait till you get to about 40 or 50, and then you realize you still don't know everything.
Yeah.
Those kind of processes are affecting us every day in our decision making, and is making those decisions. I think you look through the think fast and slow.
Yeah.
What was your thinking on that?
There's obviously then the two systems. So we'll have our conscious and our unconscious thinking, where you're trying to go somewhere and you've just driven and you go the road you've always gone, but then you just end up at the wrong, and you're like, what the hell? Why wasn't I thinking?
Habit.
And habit is really that is, I think, one of the most crucial things to actually overcome. People have bad habits, and those are things that when prolonged over a long period of time, that actually really start to drain you, because you're like, why am I continuously doing this thing that I don't want to be doing and I can't change it, and it drives you demented. You need to take that time to yourself and be like, right, I'm going to actively focus on making a better decision every day rather than doing this thing that's driving me up the wall.
Totally. And I think it's funny that you've said that we actually need to have a word with yourself.
Oh yes, check yourself before you're wrecking yourself.
Yeah. So it's great to get great habits into the subconscious, because what happens is they become efficient and they become so, like, for me, part of my business, what people always talked about is my efficiency of communication. It is something that is just so natural to me. It's like literally I want to communicate as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
And funny enough, it wins me a lot of business and it wins me a lot of fans on that. And but that is also something that was naturally in me, and I've
that
just
someone else would find very difficult, and it would take a lot more of their brain capacity to actually, operate at the level you do.
Natural communication to me, like even talking to you or talking to me,
I know
anybody, I have a natural ability.
This,
that's a good subconscious ability that becomes so natural to you. You can use it to your advantage. Of course, then we get the things like procrastination, which also is a good as a habit, but a bad habit. Where it's like
just
you should be. Melts us. And so it's a habit that you have to put a lot of energy in to fight. Resistance is what we would call it, where you have to resist that urge to do nothing. And then we start to burn a lot of energy, and that's what tires people out. It's the battle.
I know if they're already exhausted, are they really going to want to sit down and take the time to think about how they're thinking? Excuse me, Brendan, who do you think you are?
But we know through experience that actually getting started on anything is actually the easiest way to get it done. So getting started on
do it like no.
And these bring us down into these kind of other biases. Obviously, we know procrastination isn't a bias, it's just how we think and do things, and it's a self-motivation. I have to fight hard against it on some jobs that I enjoy.
It's very prominent right now whenever we don't have offices to go to, and we are we're living just with ourselves and trying to be productive all day, and making, like, there's decisions constantly to be made.
People put a wee bit of time into wondering if they read even one or two light-hearted books. You don't even have to read a deep psychology book, but started to work out and think, they can start actually realizing where they're going wrong a little bit. So for me, and you have to be accepting of yourself too. I think this is the big thing in life. So there's things I'm very naturally great at, so I've on a job, on a shoot, I'm very, you've been there with me. I mean, I'm high energy, the work gets done, we have a laugh, we communicate well, and blah, blah, blah. And that's literally a natural talent that, people would spend money on to get. And then you take me, but then you take me into an office, and then my invoicing is crazy. It takes me, like, people message me going, "Where's your invoice?" And the job's been done a month ago. And even though it's only a 15-minute thing, so even for me, I can go and do it.
To you, people are interesting. Sitting doing invoices, no, thank you.
So we learned that there's things I'm really good at, and there's things I'm really shit at. Then you can start accepting yourself more, rather than hitting yourself hard.
Those things that you don't want to do to others whenever you get to that stage.
Of course. So people need to, I'm very big into people's, I'm quite extroverted, although, I can sort of introvert myself quite easily too, but the world doesn't need loads of extroverts, and it doesn't need loads of introverts. We need a balance of all that personalities. And to me, I think we're always trying to make sure that whatever we're good at, naturally thinking about, naturally talented at, naturally good, whether we're a number person naturally or a creative, once you start realizing you can be so good at those decision makings naturally, your brain isn't even really working. And you can, what we would call flow. You're so good at it that people look at you and go, "Wow." Look,
how do you do this? How do you do?
Yes, but you can't teach it. So once people can find those things that they're so good at naturally, then a lot of the errors that they make in decision making become quite more minimal anyway. Because
if you're doing what you're good at.
You're good at. So if we watch, like, we look at sports person, we look at Roger Federer, or somebody like a massive sports person who's, absolutely one of the best tennis stars ever. When you watch someone really good at what they do, it looks like you could go out and do it. You actually feel like watching them, you could go out and then you go on it and you realize this is hard work. To me, that you don't need to be a good accountant. He doesn't need to be a good photographer. He is so good at what he does. You understand that he will be good at something, and then there's somewhere where he would even know that is not even I'm not even going to entertain that.
I know, and totally it's about being accepting of ourselves, to know that, there's some things we're going to make really, flawless decisions at, and it'll just come naturally to us. And then there'll be other things that we literally, it's just a shambles. And and we learn from those. So, like, making the wrong decisions is great because it's a laugh to look back on, and look what I was doing back when I was such and such, running about with so and so. It's funny, like, it's a talking conversation, and then you also learn from that to not do that again in the future.
Of course, and the brain is made for learning. That is how we do learn. So we do need experience. That's why, I can smile when I see someone at 18 or 20 putting something online and laugh at it because it's naivety, but also know that when they get to my age, hopefully they'll have learned enough to go, God, that was silly or stupid or whatever, because I've been
like you, and
I've done it myself.
Well, when you look back on everything you did, sure, it's funny, like, because you just did make some stupid decisions.
Of course we do, and you have to look at it through the brain it works through learning and doing silly stuff, and if it, obviously a lot of us in life, you might have got hurt through relationships and stuff like that, but those are the pain points to remind you shouldn't be bloody doing it. Do you know what I mean?
Single forever, Brendan.
but if we go down to things like the other side of it that we have to be careful of is manipulation and influence, which is more where we're actually being tricked specifically for something. We know are good con men who, the world is full of con men at the moment, who are phoning old people, we need
calls every day, Brendan, honestly. And you're like, thinking of the amount of old people that are getting pulled into this. But totally. That's a massive.
We look at the dating apps where women are being used by, we don't even know if it's other men or women in other countries who are tricking them into long-term 6-month virtual relationships, and then they're sending all their money. Like, this is ongoing.
Do you not find though it's information influx though as well, Brendan? Like, we are constantly bombarded with information, and it's up to us really, like, to actually be conscious consumers of all this information, and to decipher, like, what am I going to tune into here, because that is affecting how my brain's working. And really being mindful of that.
That's the kind of thing where manipulation and influence, because obviously we're in an influence world, which we know, being skeptical or cynical and all that kind of stuff. I suppose in this world you sort of need to be a little bit on that. I think just naturally be a little bit more cynical and skeptical of I would
research. I don't know about you, but see, before making decisions, I know everyone's different. A lot of people are just like, right, I need that. I see such and such using that. I'm getting that right now. I will research for, me, I come to you and ask you here, Brent, because I like to have all the information and then make a decision. What would you be like? Are you the same?
I'm the kind of person like you. I have about 100 people that message me constantly going, what is my decision? What is my good?
People are actually coming to you for advice on making a good decision?
Without. So like Deborah's like Deborah has people coming to me with these questions that I think are very easy answered, of course, and that's why people.
But she thinks it's just the most complex thing ever, and passing that.
It's the most So I said to her a few years ago, it was it was last year, I think it was the year before, and I said to Deborah, I had a hard day and hard things, where a lot was on my plate, as you know.
Yeah, and, I know.
Somebody came to me with a problem, and I knew what the answer was, and I went to Deborah, why do people keep coming to me with, like, why do people keep asking me these questions? Why can't they answer themselves? And then this has come back to the thinking that we were talking about. I have quite a diverse thinking mind.
Yes.
And Deborah had said to me, you're such a natural problem solver, natural thinker, that you see the answers there and then, whereas people, they never see those answers. Them answers don't exist to them.
Yeah.
So they come to you because you can answer in 3
But they associate. Do you know also though, Brendan, do you not think people are actually avoiding making decisions themselves because they know in their head, oh, such and such has that answer, so I'm not going to think about it?
Yeah. Oh, without a doubt.
That's what I'm saying. So those people might have found the answers themselves if they would have actually took the time to think, but they thought, oh, I'm going to take a shortcut. I'm going to go ask Brendan.
But yes, and that's what happens. And then because of my decision
making, that's getting lazy. That's making your brain even lazy.
Well, you could look at it another way. You could look at it that
Well, you're saving
it's
time.
it's a smart decision, even though for me it's more work on my plate. But for them,
So even
it's like,
that
why?
simple thing, it can be
Is
positive or negative depending on your perception.
depending on the perception of it. So for me, I'm like, but then, as Deborah would say to me, you can see the picture and put it all together, which
Yeah.
they may never be able
Seeing
to
the
do.
whole picture, and some people only see some of its parts.
And so I've quite what I would call, whether it's because we don't know if it exists, but the middle brain. So I would be very creative and very analytical at the same time. So most people are usually one or the other.
Yeah.
Whereas I can see the
And would you see that as an advantage? In ways and not?
In some ways, because I mean, as I'm saying about how your brain thinks, once I started realizing that I'm creative, but I'm not. There's more creative people.
There's always going to be people more.
But when you talk to more creative people, sometimes they couldn't look at a spreadsheet for loving their money.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And then I can talk to an accountant and they could never take a photo for loving their money.
Yeah.
So I'm in the middle. I sit very firmly I can talk to an accountant and a creative quite fluidly.
Yeah. It's good though to have those variations in like your comparison. So have people that you consider above you in terms of like whatever skill we're talking about, and then people know, so that you can kind of frame in your head like, okay, where do I stand with this? And then it just I think that helps you make better decisions as well.
So again, if we put that into the people who are watching this, that is it. If you have people with different, once you start thinking about how you think, you start looking at how other people think.
And I'm fascinated, honestly, Brendan. Like, I just want to know because we obviously know how we are, but getting to know others can put our thoughts and how we make into perspective, and we can learn from others and teach them maybe ways that we're good at things.
And I think that's a good thing when you have. I mean, so for me, when we look at decision making, one thing we should always have in life, decision making or not, is you should always have people who are better than you in your life, because it gives you something to aspire to be.
Yeah.
So I think what we suffer in society is where people try and keep within their same level of mindset.
Yeah.
And then make it
stay within their circle, and they're very much closed to even getting to know anyone else.
So the reason a lot of people money's obviously can be a conflicting issue with people, but if you want to have more money, you need to run around with people that have more, because you learn from them, and not through questioning, but just through being around how they, the watching.
Social learning.
So social learning, that's it. So if you put that into any kind of anything you want to do, so if you want to be like
your eyes, watch people.
So I want to be a better photographer as I do. So I am with the best that I can be around. No, well, there's, but you always want to be better, no matter how good you should always want to be better, no matter how good you are. But what I'm saying is,
I do think strive to be, every day is a chance to grow, and why not grow? Don't stay stagnant. Who wants to be muddy, stagnant water, Brendan? I don't.
So having people who are at your level and higher is a good place to be, and obviously that. But those are decision makings that allows you to get the right information to make good decisions. And then obviously with me and you on our wee tangent, keep the manipulation and the influence is having good people around you. You get good information back, which allows you to make decisions to stop you from being manipulated, because you get confidence from experience.
Yeah,
you do.
Totally.
You do.
That comes with age. Definitely. I find that myself.
It does. And naivety is there. Naivety can be, I can think naivety, like most things in life, is balanced. There's a nice part of naivety where you can do things that you wouldn't do older because you would think about it too much.
Yeah.
And then, yes, of course, because you're
just on a whim and you're like, you only live once, sure.
Of course. And then we have the darker side of naivety where you just go into something and not think about it and go, is this relationship great?
And it really goes tits up,
And it tits up and stuff like that. And that's your learning experience the hard way.
And you're left crying for the rest of your life about that stupid decision you made. Oh my goodness. Never forgive yourself.
I know plenty of people that still after 25 years talk about one person.
Brendan, can we just touch on this quickly? Assholes that ask you for your opinion or your experience on something, and you've told them 101 times to keep asking you, Brendan, but they keep doing what they were doing anyway.
I have a lot of that in my life. as I do, because people. So,
but it makes you not think that there makes you really, you know, annoyed. Because you're like, why are they not changing? Why are they not, you know, why don't they just take my incredible advice and they could really change their lives around? You have to sit and watch it day in, day out. What about that, like?
I have given few people that would be, I would call life changing to their advantage advice that hasn't been taken and then been screwed totally by what was coming that they never seen.
And you're like, oh right, well, I actually told you.
Yeah. And
yeah.
what I've learned is
That's
that
rubbish, like. But it's not your fault. You gave them the wisdom, so it's on them.
You can only give people your advice, and I think that's how you leave it. You just leave it there and go,
yeah.
Look, this is what I think. And again, what do I say? I don't know everything.
Yeah. But this is just my advice, yeah.
This is my, you know, advice. And again, that sometimes you just have to let that go. But I think we could, before we maybe finish on the cognitive biases, which would give people a nice bit of overview of the things that happen to them and they don't realize. There's not many of them, but there's a few.
Yeah.
Well, I'll look at the emotional and the rational decision making, which is where the emotional decision making usually is in our shopping habits. So emotional is we buy something because it has a brand name on it.
Yes.
we buy something because it's a certain type of car. For guys buy obviously cars on emotion. Women buy clothes on emotion. When we talk, let's say rational would be, emotion is the nice dress on it for that Friday night, and rational is that it's actually going to be -2 degrees, and actually a big coat and a pair of trousers would be a very more.
And I have 101 already. I don't need that.
So we realize that through behavioral economics that the world doesn't work in a very logical way, because logic would be comfortable shoes. I'm using women as an example because obviously as a guy I see this while I'm out driving going, is she not freezing?
I know.
You know, yeah. Rational decision making would be, she probably should have put a big pair of heavy trousers on and a big coat and a big jumper, and then
she's going to get pneumonia. You should have seen.
She's going to get pneumonia.
I saw strolling down the road. She was in shorts and -10 degrees.
Yes. But the emotional drive of doing that decision making on a Friday afternoon
I want sexy.
Great. Yes. So it's emotional. So the rational of my mind has got nothing to do with the decision making. But if you flip that round, a guy buying a car and it has a flip down roof and it has this amount of BPS, we're all going, oh my goodness, this sounds amazing. And the wife is going, like, does this car half the price not do the same thing? Do you know what I mean? So again,
and that's differences between males and females,
yes, sure. And again, so you have a gender and you also have your emotional and rational decision making there.
Yeah.
We're mainly emotional driven on our decisions. And the big thing I think what we should talk about before we just hit the last few on the biases is our loss aversion thinking. So we're designed to make the decision that does the least amount of damage, not the best outcome.
Yes.
So we're driven purely on an actually pessimistic and negative way of thinking. So our decisions are about. So I know even for me, when clients are coming to me, they're not looking for the best photographer. They're probably just not looking for the worst.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
You're trying to and you use that market and everything as well. You know, you have to tell people what they are wanting, really.
Yes. Yeah. So people are actually afraid in life of making the wrong decision. I mean, this is. I mean, they don't think of it like that, but that is actually what people
you can convince
are thinking.
them that they are making the right decision for them.
Of course. So for that, when we're doing anything in life, whether what we're buying for food, what we're buying for cars, any decision we do day to day is actually subconsciously loss aversion. What is the one that will do the least amount of have caused the least amount of issue for me? It's never the bigger payoff. It's never been the bigger payoff. It's always been, what can get me to bed tonight? Do you know what I mean? That is it. That is it. So
you can always do better, but actually I think there really is something to be said for actually, because you could procrastinate forever on making the right decision. So just accepting there needs to be a certain level of balance there to be found in, how much time am I going to spend on this? and then go with it, because you could literally go for forever in your life and not make decisions. So yeah.
And I would talk and say on a good, at least average life or higher, you're doing okay. And I wouldn't mean average on life. The Maslow hierarchy
Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
So the basics is that you have roof over your head, you have food, you have a relationship and all that. You know, the basic things in life. You know, if you're getting that first level, you're doing all right.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And your brain is working to a point of to giving you that. And obviously we want to then achieve it.
I think it's really, and the pinnacle of that is self-actualization. And very, very few, there's a very, not sure the percentage, but it would maybe be about 2% of people actually fully self-actualize. And would you say you've reached the pinnacle of that? Would you say you're self-actualized?
I would say
some days.
Someday, I mean, I want to do more in life. I would love to do. I think I don't think.
But I think that's all part of it. That I think self-actualization is, you know, being accepting of where you are now and being proud and being in flow and all those kind of things, and really feeling like your life is lived on purpose. But also, there's more to be got.
There's more to be got. Yeah. I have a pretty relatively good life. You know, I would like. You know, like a bigger house and all that. The usual stuff that we all want. I think
that translates though in your way of being, you know, and just your like I don't think anyone would really have a bad word to say about you, kind of thing.
But I'm not out to harm anybody, so I think automatically that is a big thing for people. Again, remember loss aversion. People want to have people around them that's not going to do them any harm, and if anything, do them better. And I think I've just that natural personality to be that person, so you automatically become a highly regarded. But those realize that your decision making is very, very subconscious 99% of the time. But some of those 1% decisions are very big, which is like the relationship.
I know.
So it's emotional and it can be subconscious, but realistically, if you step back and went, you know, what's this person's what's their reviews like on Facebook as a person to date?
Yeah.
Do you know?
Literally.
You know how many are 3 stars rather than the 5 that you think they are?
Yeah.
Do you know?
I know. The simple things that you maybe will miss that, you know, really will help you at the end of the day making good decisions.
And many people do we know, I mean, using relationships, because I see a lot of people struggling with relationships and especially online because it's all public now.
Yeah.
You know, people will go, oh, I knew early days that they were like this, but they've been with them for 2 years. So they knew very early, but they didn't use the parachute.
Yeah.
You know, they didn't. And so these are other wee things we can go through in the next few minutes if you want me to go through them quickly.
Yeah. Because we could actually chat for Great Britain.
Simple ones are, I think there's about 10 or so here. So the anchoring effect, which is relying too much on the initial piece of information offered when making decisions.
Yeah.
So you use the first piece of information to work out the rest of the answer.
Yeah. Doesn't matter what actually comes after that. You focus on the first one, so that's what you're going to use.
And we use this in marketing. We actually is used against you in marketing and sales, just to let you know. So these, I'm telling people, these are the
nuggets. The rest there was very informative and fun. Now this is really getting down to the nitty gritty.
This is the nitty gritty.
Here you go.
The availability heuristic, which is overestimating the importance and likelihood of events given the greater availability of information. What they've used is, I saw something very similar like this on LinkedIn. We need to take it seriously. So they'll use information and then blow it up to become, you know, this is going to be. That
there would be like judging that planes are very dangerous because you've seen more plane crashes than car crashes. But car accidents happen way more frequently. That's the availability heuristic.
Availability, yes, that's it. The other one which we've talked about is the bandwagon effect.
Yes.
The uptake of beliefs and ideas increases the more that they have already been adopted by others. So you use, this is what we would call social proofing, which is where you don't make your own decision. You look at it. So one of the reasons Apple do very well is not, I mean, their products are good. I'm not an Apple fan, but most 99, so many people have Apple that people use that as the decision making rather than their actual.
I'm not an Apple gal either.
Yeah, but if you told someone that's why
the others, they'd be like, why not? Why are you not getting Apple? Apple's the best.
Yeah, told them that's one of the reasons they've chosen it. They'd go against you because they can't believe that themselves. They have to believe that they've made that decision. But I'm going, I would say you've probably taken it because your friend has it rather than because you actually wanted it. Kind of thing. So we have the belief bias, basing the strength of an argument on the believability or plausibility of the conclusion.
Okay, yeah.
So we've got to the result and used and reversed it back.
Yeah.
Rather than coming to the answer at the end.
If you think it's too good to be true, it probably is. But they say that, and then so what is the truth, Brendan? We're putting our trust in people to be telling us the truth, and that's what
doctors who have been struck off. But the Harold Shipman one is amazing because if you watch the documentary on him, because he was a doctor, it's called authoritative figure. People believe in authority figure very highly, policemen, judges, and now we realize that a lot of them were doing bad things. The Harold Shipman one is amazing because he got away with so much for so long because he was the town doctor.
Yeah, go watch that.
So yeah, definitely. This is an interesting one for all of us. The blind spot bias, viewing oneself as less biased than others.
Yeah, didn't know that one, Brendan.
Well, so this one exists because people, if people rate themselves at driving, they always rate themselves higher than the average person. You believe you're better. Yeah. You believe you're better than what you actually are.
And that's easy to remember because there is a blind spot in driving. So
yes. So there you go. So the people
that's me making a shortcut here.
Well, we would know this as the Dunning-Kruger effect, where people think they know more than what they actually do. They don't, because they don't know what they don't know. They actually think they know more. Yeah. I see it in my industry. Young photographers coming in and they think that this is the first time it's ever been done. Yeah. And then I could go through the 60s and 70s of fashion photographers and go to them. Actually, that has been done. Yeah. So it's a bit of naivety, but it's also their bias that they don't know enough to realize where they fit. Yeah.
See, I would be in the frame of thinking of the more you know, the more you know you don't know.
You don't know, but again, age has that. You learn through age. But no matter who we are, we'll always have that. We will always believe we're better than what we actually are.
That's a protective mechanism.
Of course it is, but we have to be careful with it because it can throw out our little bit of self belief. Yeah, there's a conflict there between having a bit of self belief, but also not being too cocky is probably how we would call it.
Definitely, not like that.
So is this new to me? The clustering illusion, which is erroneously overestimating the importance of small clusters or patterns in large data.
Yes. Okay.
So what is the second week in a row that this has happened? There must be a problem. But actually, in relation to it, it's actually a minor issue.
Yeah. It's just being luck or chance or whatever. And
that's it. Coincidence. So the other one we have, which we'll be chatting about a lot, is the confirmation bias. Yeah. Focusing on information that only confirms existing preconceptions. Yeah. That is a very common because we see that in daily life. People read the same magazines, they read the same things, which means their thought process will be limited. It's also why you need people, a thinker like me, because I read a lot of various information on various subjects and various things. I'm not saying I don't have confirmation bias because that would be unfair to say that, but what I mean is I have a wide range of knowledge across things, so it stops me sort of being too plugged down into a sector or a way of thinking. Definitely. If you read the same thing, you're going to think limited. And one of the great people, Leonardo da Vinci, was a mad reader across different things, engineering, which allowed him to be very much more creative. So it's very good if you can have a little bit more of a polymath way of thinking. You'll make better decisions because your knowledge will be
that word was cracker. Polymath way of thinking. I'll be writing that in the caption.
Thank you so much. This is interesting. The endowment effect. Now, this isn't a dirty one. This is the tendency for people to ascribe more value to things merely because they already own or have them.
Oh,
right. So this was, I remember, I've read a lot. That doesn't even need to be said. So when they were asking someone to sell something or buy something at a certain value, when they owned the product, they actually they valued it higher because they had it. Yeah. So they would sell it for more than what they bought it for, even though the value was actually less. So because you have the fascinating. Yes, because you have the product, then you basically, this is the tier. I know it will cost a fortune to fix, but it costs us 15,000. We can't just throw it away. So they use the ownership to automatically influence the way they value the
Decisions.
product.
Yeah.
And yeah, stuff like that. So because you own it, you have you nearly have an emotional value to it, as we all know.
Definitely.
And that throws things out massively.
Yeah.
The next few, we're nearly down. The gambler's fallacy, believing that future probabilities are altered by past events when in fact they are unchanged.
Yeah.
So what we think is, we do the lottery every week, and obviously the numbers are going down.
Yeah.
But realistically, they're still as random as what they were the day we started.
Yeah. Perfect example. Yeah.
You think that you're closer to winning because you've been doing it for so long.
And
where actually the odds haven't changed
to when you started. Yeah.
Started. Yeah.
I think, oh my goodness, I've been doing it for so long, it's bound to be me now. But no, it's
of course. Yeah.
Still the same.
Hyperbolic discounting, preferring a smaller, sooner payoff over a large, later reward. Now, think what that is. That's procrastination.
Yeah.
That is, and I do it too. It's where sometimes you do things now to get your payoff, but not realizing that if you held off. So,
but you
we'll look at this as a perfect real-world example.
This is me telling you that you actually save. So you've actually foregone the immediate reward of spendy because you're thinking about your future, and you save. That's going against that.
So yes, that goes against that. And so for people, it is literally, the shoppers that go out every weekend just to get their hit.
Yeah. Drug addicts, alcoholics.
Yes.
They're not thinking about the long-term effects of their health.
We have recently someone in the family that has started saving, and they now have money in their bank account, and now they're over the habit of spending, and now are starting to save. And once they were going, it's just working it out.
Breaking those habits.
Yeah. So they're actually feeling positive.
Rewiring your brain.
So here we go. Illusion of validity. Overestimating our ability to make accurate predictions, especially when data appears to tell a coherent story.
Yes.
So I'll tell you, this worked fine in the factory in Korea. It should work fine here.
Yeah. I know. You cannot extrapolate from one to another. That's like generalizations. It doesn't work. You need to do figure it out for yourself.
And we're going through these.
It's trial and error, Brendan, as well.
Of course it is.
Yeah.
Now, this is one that I've researched a lot myself, and I think this is amazing because a lot of people do this. It's called the ostrich effect.
Right.
And so what does an ostrich do when trouble comes?
What does it do?
Puts its head in the sand. So the ostrich effect is something a lot of people do, that when their letters come in from their bills, instead of taking them face on, they actually hide away. They put them in a drawer. And what happens is the problem becomes absolutely massive because they've ignored the issue rather than hitting it straight on.
That's massive.
That's massive. So people,
fight or flight, they're taking the flight.
That is it. But realistically, the problem is never going to go away. We could find with a lot of bank institutes, people that they're dealing with money, especially when they're under like FCA regulations. If you have problems, they will actually have to help you through law.
Yeah.
And so it is actually better to hit those problems straight on.
100%.
And I think in life, if you just try and run away from a problem, the problem never goes away. It's always there somewhere.
Yeah.
So the ostrich effect is not putting your head in the sand, but actually hitting it on and getting it done, kind of stuff. Here's one for you. We'll love this one. Post-purchase rationalization.
Yeah.
Tendency to retroactively ascribe positive attributes to an option one has selected. So it's relationships.
You're delighted with what you
Of course you have.
What you've got and what you have.
He mightn't be perfect, but he's mine. All that kind of stuff. Or it could be when you buy something and then you actually debate about whether you should have bought it at all and want to return it. So you basically are starting to think about, this is a good buy, wasn't it? Because you bought it and then you're now debating about
friends, to confirm like your actual justify it.
Yes. Well, you should have asked them maybe at the start and then bought it. But anyway.
I know. Yeah.
We're nearly at the last few. We're reactive devaluation, devaluing an idea because it originated from an adversary or opponent.
Yes.
So you
don't want to take advice from our enemy.
Yes, but realistically, we could be using that to our
broadening our
advantage.
horizons to hear what they
Yes.
think and understand them better.
And I've had to do it, and I'll tell you an experience from me having to do it, because I don't have enemies, but I obviously have competition in business. So a lot of them are good friends, and there's things that I have went, I'm not doing that. And then like 6 months later, I've had to do it because it's what you had to do. Do you know what I mean? So
really like firm in your ground. There's no way I'm ever doing that. And then you're like, oh, if I would have adopted that a good while ago,
yes.
I could,
Yes. So we're all risk compensation, taking bigger risks when perceived safety increases. Being more careful when perceived risks, and being more careful when perceived risk increases.
Yes, so that's being like risk averse. You're trying to minimize the damage, really.
Even though the payoff could be high or huge, you'll actually take the least amount of damage and stuff like that. Obviously, we know people go outside what we would call outliers that actually break those rules.
Sensation seekers, or they actually.
And we have our last two. Status quo bias, which we'll know exactly. Preferring the current state of affairs over change.
And the two of us are way beyond the bubble of the norm, I would say.
So
we're outside the box thinkers.
So people who are very happy at how the world is or their world is without actually deciding that maybe this isn't the best thing. So if you stay with a partner for so long because the status quo, this is better than what might be better out there for me, or you don't change like your business habits, which people
you're just very fixed and closed-minded rather than being open to suggestion.
And that's to suggest bias that a lot of people have, I'm sure, and we'll go with the last one, which is a very simple one to finish up, is stereotyping, assuming a person has characteristics because they are a member of a group. Now we can look at that very simple on a gender, that women feel that they haven't got jobs because they were women, and then and then women thinking that all men are perverts or something like that, and that's just a gender stereotype but
that's propagated throughout history, and so we have the availability heuristic as well coming into play, because it's what we're told and fed constantly,
and that's it. And stereotypes go through by your gender, your sexuality, your whether what your job title is. Tech people are boring, that's not obviously going to be true, I mean, and everything's relative to how you perceive the world too, but stereotyping is, which we know even through obviously racial problems across the world, and sectarian in Northern Ireland. So those are biases. These are basically psychological biases that people are using every day, that 99% of people will not even know. They don't know they exist.
Well, do you know what, Brendan? Whoever's watched this video has no excuse now. They've none, because they need to be joining the 1% club, because they now know about it. It's now up to them to do something about it, to stop making wrong decisions. Time out to figure out these biases, to figure out how you can, fix in a way your brain, due to the way you've actually your brain has formed. It's up to you to change that, because your brain is flexible, and you're not just forever. You can change this, and you can, just because maybe you've made bad decisions in your opinion your whole life, you can now go forward and make better decisions, and it's up to you to decide now, today, here, I'm going to make better decisions from now on, and actually do it.
Do you want to make better decisions, and also not be hard when you do make bad ones, because we're all, and I think leaving it like that is perfect. What would be my tips? Having people around you that know more than you, or at least are worthy of
what you would like to be.
Are in doing things that you're not doing, so that you don't have that bias of them and talking about the same thing that you're talking about. We don't always have to have friends like this. We just need to have people around us that we can approach to ask for other thought processes.
100%.
Even looking at that, I think all of us could go through, done that once, I've done that once, the whole way through. That would all be you can
always think of an example that fits you, and so that can put it into perspective for you, make you understand it better, so then you can move forward and think, right, okay, I did that, I wasn't happy with that, so I'm not going to do that again, and I'm not going to do it again, and not doing it again. That's where the hard work comes in, so good luck with that.
That is where you need your energy drinks and stuff to keep that brain working.
Giving you all the information, it's up to you now to do something with it, I guess. And that was honestly, I actually find that really, really interesting. I really appreciate your time and all the effort you actually put into that, like writing off. And it was really lovely just to catch up and have a good chat about things that nobody else talks about.
Of a wee bit of thought processing in that, and it's stuff that I've
I
always
think that
loved.
was
So it's
really, really valuable. You know, I don't think a lot of people would know about that kind of thing, like really.
it's there. It's in the books. It's the great psychologists of the world have already given us the
See, that's the
information. We
thing.
just need
It's
to
in the
digest it.
books, but it's about disseminating this information to the masses. I think this was a fantastic topic to have actually covered. Do you know?
Yeah, it's brilliant. It's right up my street. I love this kind of stuff. That as you know, with the 1,000 books on it.
Like here, Brenton, edit your own video there.
We'll meet in the real world soon. So we will.
I hope so. I really do hope